So there might be a time in your life where you pick up your head and you ask yourself, is this really my life? Is this the life that I thought I was going to be having? What has happened? What went wrong in terms of where it is that I am, and what is it that I can start to do now in order to change that just a little bit? See, for so many people, they want to be living a certain lifestyle. They have a certain envision of their life in order to be doing certain things. And then they wake up and they look back and they're like, what is going on? I did not choose this life. I didn't want this life. And all of a sudden, they now have to figure out what is it that they can start to do. And for so many people, they get so down, and during these times, they see that there's no hope. They say, if I wasn't able to do it up to this point, then I probably won't be able to do it up to the next point. What is it we can start to do to allow that shift to not overtake us? We can embrace where it is that we are and then look to change the small things in our lives. Because for so many people, they get to that stage and then they just stop themselves. And it's interesting because a lot of times it happens when people are younger. They're in their 20s or 30s and they can't believe they're, stuck in this job for 10, 15 years, but nowadays for like 10, 15 months, right? Because the younglings love to change jobs, and I'm talking about myself as well. And what's interesting is that you get stuck in certain situations, or maybe a certain relationship, or maybe your health is just not the way that you thought it was. And then we look to see what has happened, and you can't get out of it because we're too far in, we're too committed. And what we need to ask ourselves is, in 20 years from now, when we look back, would we be happy that we made that shift, or would we not be happy that we made that shift? And it's interesting. I was just listening to a podcast, and somebody wanted to become, I believe, some type of coach. So I think it was a business coach or something like that. And what was interesting is that the person was an optometrist. So they went to school to become a doctor, or I think optometrists are doctors, and was practicing for a couple of years and realized, like, I really don't like this. And then took a whole shift, and I think it was like over time, but took a shift and really switched to become a coach and like stopped practicing. And I think that was so fascinating that somebody was willing to spend so much time in a specific field and then allow themselves to say, hey, you know what? I tried this thing out. This isn't working for me. Let me shift it. Because how many people will just stick it out? And sometimes I think the biggest question so many, especially entrepreneurs, need to ask themselves is, when do I got to truck through and when do I have to pivot? And there's going to be a time where you're going to have to make that decision. We're all going to have to choose. Am I going to continue doing the thing that I'm doing, or am I going to make a shift and make something new happen? And I think that is one of the most powerful questions that we can come to. And if we decide that it's time to pivot, we need to figure out what is it we can start to do. And here are a couple ideas that we can start to think about when we start to make this pivot. The first idea is to really understand, what is it that we want? And I would say it's really twofold. What is it that we want moving forward, and what is it that we want to change moving backwards a little bit? You see, for so many of us, we are built certain routines in our days, and we're not so thrilled about those routines. Maybe it's the time we wake up, maybe it's the food that we eat, the relationships that we have, and not just talking about a spouse, but even our friends. And there are certain things that we do out of habit, and because we do those things out of habit, it's so much harder to do other things. And a lot of times I find personally that if I want to be able to take a step forward in a direction, sometimes it's not about taking the step forward. It's about saying no to something else. It's about getting my priorities on right. It's about, cutting something from behind that will allow me to spring forward. And I think for so many people, they don't realize that. They think they have to be doing something different. They think they have to keep trugging through. But they don't realize they're holding this backpack of hundreds of pounds on their back. And if they could just take off this weight, then they're going to be able to fly across the finish line. And if we can start to understand what those things are, to say, hey, you know what? On one hand, what's going on behind me? What are all the things that are holding me back? What are the things in my life that I do not appreciate? The things that I want to change? And if I could start to understand that, then all of a sudden I could have the ability to start to move forward just a little bit. Because things are going to be a lot lighter. And what's interesting about this world that we all live in, it's so much of it is up here. So much of the success that we have is really mentally trying to overcome certain things, to be able to continuously push through, to have that resilience, to allow ourselves to see the success that we want. And if we can start to realize, hey, a lot of that weight that we have, the pressure that we put on ourselves, is something that we could train ourselves not to do, or we can work on it not doing. And we look back in a couple of months from now and we say, hey, you know what? All those beliefs that I had, all those fears that I had are not really real. then do you not think you're going to become more successful? Do you not think you're going to be able to achieve so much more? And I think that is something that we need to understand and we need to recognize when it comes to the work that we want to be doing. So ask yourself, what is it that you are doing? What is it that you are putting yourself in? What situation are you getting rid of in your life that can help you move forward? And the opposite side of that coin is, what is it that you want to be doing? For a lot of people, they don't want to be where they are, but they have no idea where they want to be. And that is fascinating because you can really just dream about it. You could like daydream, what is it that I want to be doing? I'm not just saying dreaming like you're flying private, but like, what does that lifestyle look like to you? What is it that you're doing day in and day out? What is it that we can start to do in order to allow ourselves to see the life that we want? How can we start to manifest what is it that we want? Because for so many of us, there's no direction, and there's no direction because we're not sitting down with ourselves and just thinking about what it is that we want to be doing. And if we could just pause and think for a second and ask yourself, what do I want? And go back and forth and try to debate with yourself. What is the lifestyle that I want? What type of family life do I want? How much money do I want to be making? These are all real questions, and don't just throw out a number. Think about it. Work it out. And you know what? Sometimes we're not going to be able to control a lot of those things. But guess what? A lot of times we can attract those things in our life. And that's what we need to ask ourselves. So when we're looking to become more and to do more, to live a different type of lifestyle, to press that restart button, we need to even know what button we're pressing, which type of lifestyle. Because we can't just throw away all our priorities that we have, all our responsibilities that we've committed to. And we need to try to figure out, what is it that I'm supposed to do now? How is it that I'm supposed to move forward? And I think if we could start there by saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to get rid of these things. I'm going to start focusing on these things, these opportunities in my life. And all of a sudden we have some direction, some path that we can start to take. And that is something that could be so powerful when it comes to reinventing ourselves, to trying to figure out who is it that we really are. And then once we have that ability, we have to try to figure out the plan. So we might have the goal, and then we have to reverse engineer it. Try to ask ourselves, so how is it that we're supposed to get there? And let's be realistic. And I think a lot of times people think they have to be unrealistic. People think that they have to just pretend it, fake it till you make it. But we should be realistic with the cards that we're dealt, because everybody's dealt different cards. And we need to ask ourselves, based on the cards that I have, what is it that I need to do? Doesn't mean I can't change my cards. But where am I right now? What is it that I can do? And not in the way that we're limiting ourselves, because some people a lot of times train themselves, oh, this is where I am. This is my situation. This is my family situation. This is my financial situation. This is who I am, and I can't get out of it. No, 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 no. It's the growth mindset that we can get out of it. But it's understanding where are we right now to see what steps we have. I might have to take a couple more steps than somebody else, but that doesn't mean I can't change. It doesn't mean I can't do things differently. And for so many of us, we don't give ourselves a shot because we're not being realistic. We think, and this is like something that I fell into in my 20s so much. I kept thinking I was somewhere else. I kept thinking I had the skills that I needed already to become successful. And I kept getting slapped in the face, and I was like so confused. Like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not doing it yet? And I realized the reason why, because I'm not being realistic with myself. I'm not allowing myself to see the success that I want. I'm not allowing myself to learn, to give myself a season of learning. They're saying more important than anything that I get, any money that I get, is I want to be able to become the person that I want to become. And if I could learn those skills, that's very different than just jumping into it and trying to learn. And maybe for some people that works. My experience, the people that I've spoken to, especially if that's not your personality right away, all that's going to happen is that you're going to get burnt out a lot quicker. For so many people, I know they get so burnt out because they're not used to it. It's a different lifestyle, a different skill that they need. And if we can start to recognize that, that could be something that could start to shift. And for so many people, they have this ability. They want to be able to move forward and to take certain actions. And if they can, then that could be something that could shift so much of their life. So recognizing that is going to be really important. And being realistic with where you are, It can be something that could change so much. So what is it that you need to get rid of? Where is it that you want to be going? What's the hand that you're currently holding? Not forever, but currently holding. And I think the most important thing is really starting to take the action. And you might say to yourself, or say to me, Bennett, that's nice, I have to take action, but what action? Like, what do I do? What's the first step? And people always wait for like some big answer. Like, I'm going to tell you the secret. And the secret is like, just any action. Just do anything. Just look to do something different, to take one step forward. Stop worrying about what's going to happen later on. Look just to take the next step. Speak to that one person. Raise your hand one time. Pick up the phone that one time. Because at any given moment, we're only able to do one thing at a time anyway. And if we could just focus on the current moment, what is the next action I need to be taking? Okay, great. I'm going to do that. I want to go to the gym. What's the next action? I got to get my shoes. So let me go to my closet to get my shoes. Okay, what's the next action? I got to change. Okay, great. What's the next question? I have to get my car. I can go in my car, or we got to get my bike, whatever it might be. And all of a sudden you take what's only one action at a time. And then by the end, you get to the gym. And then I got to like figure out how to work out. And then I need to figure out like all these other things. And there's just one step after the next, after the next. And so many people get so caught up. And I found myself getting so caught up in terms of not knowing what I need to be doing next. And I used to think I didn't know what I was doing next. So therefore I wasn't taking any action. And it's the opposite. The action is going to breed more action. And once you start taking action, you start to see more action that you're supposed to be taking. And to say, well, this person did it this way and that person did it that way. And the answer is that like everyone does it differently because everybody starts differently. Everybody takes different action. And yes, you should learn and you should be educated, but don't let that hold you back. For so many of us, we're so scared to move forward because we think we're not prepared. And it's just go for it. Take the action, move forward, do the thing that you're scared of, do. Ask the person, right? Go make that sales pitch, take that course, whatever it is that you're looking to do. You can't be scared of it. And if you're telling yourself, I can't do it, recognize that indecision in this opportunity is going to be the thief of the opportunity that you're going to have. And that is something that has plagued me for so long, because for so long I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for something different to happen. And guess what? Nothing happened. And I just kept waiting until I realized I just have to decide and move forward. Stop thinking that things are going to be different. Stop wondering if this idea is better than this idea. Guess what? They're all ideas, and there's only one way to find out. Do your due diligence, but then start to take action. And I think for so many of us, we get so stuck in not being able to move forward. We get so stuck in our own minds and our own thoughts. And that's only on us. And if we're not making those changes, if we're not taking those actions, there's only one person to blame, and that's ourselves. And if you've already been blaming yourself, like, why can't I do it? Bennett, why can't I take the action? Why can't I do this? Stop shaming yourself. Stop saying, why can't I? And just do it. Stop thinking. You're thinking too much. You're in your head already. And if you're thinking too much, you're dead. You're in your head, you're dead, as Tony Robbins likes to say. So what is it that we can start to do? What is it that we can start to do in order to make things different? What's that next step that we need? What is it that we can start to do? Who's that person that we need to reach out to? Because I'm telling you, people are waiting for some big idea for it to change. And the only way it's going to change is if we want to make a change. And we need to want it, and we need to take the action more than the fear that we have. Because the longer we think about it, the scarier the object gets. The more we push off the thing we know we're supposed to be doing, the scarier it gets. And guess what? That's all on us. So let's not be scared of it. Let's understand what it is we need to be doing. Let's understand, okay, what is the process right here for us to do in order to make things a little bit different. And once we do that, once we make that shift, everything's going to be different. Our lives are going to be different, and the actions that we take are going to be different. And if we can start to do those things, I'm telling you, life is going to be so much more fulfilling, so much more meaningful. We're not going to be wasting so much time wondering what it is we're supposed to be doing. We're just going to be doing it. And that is something that is so powerful when it comes to so much of the work that we're looking to do. So ask yourself, what is it that I can start to do? How is it that I can make these things happen? What do I need to stop doing? What's the plan I need to be putting in place? And allow ourselves to see the life that we want to be living. Because for so many of us, we want to be doing so much more. And it's really on us to make that change and to do those things differently. So let me know what questions you have. I see one over here. Exactly. Somebody wrote over here that it's not impossible, but we can. It hurts, right? If we don't allow ourselves to become somebody, it hurts. And it's true. It's so painful. But it's really on us to be able to make sure that, you know what, if we want to do something differently, we have the opportunity to change it. So let me know what questions you all have. See you all on the next one. Peace out.